I don't know. How are we going to
I know
incorporate
we're
this
already a
little thing?
minute late. I feel like we're almost like 2 minutes
Dude, I
late
was
now. This
taking
is
some
like the
notes from
worst.
my video. I told you I need to scribble down
I
my
know
stuff.
you're putting out a follow up to the video that I put out today.
Yeah, like I want to continue the conversation, and I want to have a
What I
good
love is
closure
that
for
you're old like me. So are those actually your notes for the video? Are those really?
it. Yeah, they're
Okay,
like
so I've got my notes from the video and all my B-roll shots from the video also
oh
on a
my.
paper pad, which is
Yeah,
hilarious.
I can go back like quite a few. Like I've been using this notepad. This is actually, by the way, to thanks to the folks over at TCL for for
This
writing us.
podcast,
This
you are
podcast not
not using the
sponsored.
stylus. You are not
No,
using the style. Hold on, hold
no,
on.
no, 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 no. I don't. Sorry, the other side. Yeah, the other side of the book. Well,
We're
we
using
got
the
the same
same
book.
note.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, we're. I think we're officially an old couple. I don't know. Does
No,
that?
we're doing like the wave. We're thinking off the same brain.
Uh huh.
For oh, that's so
Dude, no,
bad.
not even the worst part about it is, I had I was sitting down earlier this evening to try to write down my notes for, for my talking
Sure,
points and everything for this video. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Then I flipped back a couple of pages because I was like further on. I moved on to a few videos. I already
you'd
wrote my notes a
already
week and a half ago.
you're scribbling out.
And it's
Well,
like
TK, when you write your notes out, that's supposed to help you remember
but it's
what your notes are.
there was a few shots that I was missing, and I think that was my main problem. Is I think
Oh,
as I
fair.
was there, okay, so the last clip that I wanted before I was ready to put out the video for the polys was I wanted to get the on the plane bit. When I first
Oh,
saw
yeah,
them at
yeah, yeah.
CES in 2023, the biggest thing that got me excited about them was the transmitter function in them. It wasn't,
Yes.
like that literally is it's the most geekiest function of all things out of this entire all like plethora of Maverick of
I
everything
don't
that
want
it
you telling
does.
me I have a plethora if you don't know what a plethora is.
Well, it's a whole lot of no, a whole lot of lot. I think not a lot of nothing.
It's
Um, but it's the ability of turning any airplane seat into a Bluetooth enabled airplane seat. And I realize that,
yeah.
some people may say like airplanes are starting to add Bluetooth. I understand that. By the time we get to that level,
But haven't you also seen that like whenever there's like an upgrade in like airplane entertainment,
mhm.
I find, especially lately, the last several flights I've had, they have gone bare bones on their seats. Like there's
Oh,
nothing
oh,
anymore because they assume that you have a phone or a tablet or a laptop or
I've
something
I've
like
been on a
that.
few flights where there's like
So
nothing. You're right. Yeah, they're like,
nothing,
nah,
yeah.
you should have a phone by now. I'm like, what if I don't? Like, well,
Do
sir,
you not all have phones?
do you
I
not have
work
the
for
iPhone?
Blizzard.
The one thing I will say is I'm very happy to have it. I'm glad that you got a chance to put out your video earlier this week. I mean, not
Yeah,
early this week, today, actually. I think your
just
video just went
literally
out this
today.
afternoon.
Yeah,
Literally, like it's
this
hot
afternoon.
off the presses. If you hadn't had a chance to check it out, obviously after you finish off our show, please make sure to check out the video over at Juan's
Thanks.
YouTube channel at Some Gadget Guy. I thought he was when I first saw the email, I thought it was going Patreon first, and then I thought it was going to go to YouTube, but
Yeah.
then nope, it's on YouTube on everything.
So I was really grateful. The folks at Poly sponsored a video where obviously a lot of this is the overview. I need to charge my case. I've been using them heavy, and I just realized my case is almost dead. Um, it's a lot of the overview on the actual Poly, but one of the things that I kind of wanted to sneak in sideways. I always love using my sponsored videos to like wedge in just another talking point or topic,
Hmm.
uh, trying to delineate more.
Yeah.
What is the difference between a pair of earbuds that I would really value for music reproduction, earbuds that I think are better for fun things like movies. These are incredible business communicators, but
Absolutely. Yeah.
they're using a trick that we talked about on the show a while back, like almost about a year ago, where I feel like JBL was doing a similar trick, but
Hmm.
way better for gaming. So where these are better for, they're certified for Microsoft Teams and
They're
Zoom and doing
business.
your conference
I think
calls.
the Poly as a sub brand of HP, I think is primarily
Yeah,
focused on the.
it's a
It's
business.
basically
Yeah,
Plantronics, right? It's what Plantronics ended up being turned
it's the
into after it got
team
merged.
the team that was formerly called Plantronics that
Yep.
got sort of absorbed into HP, and
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure
Yeah.
there were licensing deals on trademarks and stuff like that. But as far as I understand, the core Plantronics group is now Poly.
Yeah.
So if you loved all those business grade communicators, but that was the big hook of my video was
Yeah.
we've got different tools for different jobs, and that is now something that in the true wireless space we can better represent. When true wireless earbuds were either gut rot, cheap garbage, or AirPods,
Hmm.
you didn't have a lot of choice in what it was you were trying to do. And now I feel we've got much better options for really high quality lossless, lossless
Oh,
codecs. You've
absolutely.
got really, really low latency options that are even better than Bluetooth if you want to use like a little adapter. And what Plantronics is doing is Swiss Army knife will connect you to any compute platform
If it has
you
a
could
pulse, we'll
possibly
connect you
imagine.
to it. That's well, it should be on the back of that case right
And
there.
there you
It's
go.
like, if it got a pulse, we can work it. We can make it happen.
So,
Just let
and
me know.
Farhan's saying, for me, the JBL still wins because it's more for gaming. This is
Oh yeah, yeah.
exactly the kind of conversation we should be having now. It's not, these are the best earbuds, because there's no such thing.
No, no,
I,
no, no,
you,
no.
you can
I
go
think
consumer grade and look at some great options from like OnePlus and One More and Soundcore and some
mhm.
really great stuff. If I'm gonna sit back and I really want to say what I need is the top best possible audio reproduction in an audiophile fashion, I'm gonna go with my iFi and my Odyssey planar magnetic earbuds.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
that's a ridiculously expensive combo that like MSRP is almost like 2 grand.
Ah,
Like I'm not going to put that up against Poly. That's not a fair fight for Poly for what they're trying to
no,
claim
and
on
Polly
their
doesn't.
earbuds.
And Polly, I don't. So I obviously, spoiling too much of the video. The Polly as a tool, like and when we said the word Plantronics, obviously, if you're familiar with the company, they were generally known for their office tools, office
Yeah.
microphones,
Oh, they
connected
still are.
solutions, and well,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, Polly is basically what took over. Well, not took over. Polly is essentially the morphed
Well,
version
but
that's under HP.
the name of the headsets didn't change. Like this is
Hmm.
still the Voyager line, which has always been a part of the Plantronics
Yeah, yeah,
earbud line, are the Voyagers.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so if you had a pair of like or Bluetooth headsets back when we all had mono ear
You remember? Yeah.
Bluetooth communication devices.
Oh my
I
God.
remember having Voyager gear from back in the day. In the
I,
day,
I
flip
I'm
phones that
I'm
had
just happy
Bluetooth.
that we've moved on from that stage of everybody
Yeah,
walking around with that really skinny lawn mic that comes down to the mouth with the thing hanging over the
yeah.
ear and the wire
But
going
but
straight down to the
don't you think
pocket.
it's funny that in a way we've also come full circle where I'm seeing people like using both hands to have a video call while walking around in public, and you're like, we have earbuds that could do that way better, and you'd have both hands. I get so angry if I answer my phone and I don't have a headset on immediately,
Yeah.
and I have to hold the phone for any length of time, and it's like, I've got to put this call on hold. I have to stop talking to you right
And
now
again, go find
because
your earbud. Yeah.
I have to go find where my headset this is tech reviewer problems. Y'all
Well,
don't
no, no.
have this issue
I
where
feel like
I
even
have so many different earbuds connected to so many different phones
that
that I
is
might not have what I want connected to the device that I'm actually calling on.
that could
So
be a you problem, my friend. I think
that
that
is
may be
definitely a me problem, and
a
I
little
should be
bit.
roasted in it for the comments because that's the worst humble brag I think I've ever delivered in my entire life.
I mean, for a guy known as the audio guy or some gadget guy and some audio guy, yeah, I think you've earned those stripes,
Formerly
my
known as.
friend. Formerly known as Mr. Some Audio Guy. You've earned those stripes. I think you have that, the badge and
Well,
all of
I,
the,
I I appreciate it. Hey,
you know.
everybody! I'm not
Welcome
on
back.
camera right now, but this is a tech podcast called "The Best of Our Week," where two old guys talk about the best tech of our weeks. And I appreciate you kind of kicking off with part of that conversation because the Plantronics video was a fun one to put out this week,
Yeah, yeah.
just
I,
as
I've enjoyed
a
him
little
for a
shakeup,
while.
right?
It's a little bit different. I feel like
Yeah,
I'll say that I'm very happy that this product exists. It took a little bit of time for it to come around because I got introduced to it at CES. I saw it in its early infancy. The model that I saw was I think wasn't everything wasn't working 100%, but then the
yeah,
execution on the product, I feel like for what they promised, delivered. And I think that's what I
yeah,
appreciate. It's when a company says, I'm going to do XYZ and they give you XYZ and
hmm
you're not missing out. You're not getting the, oh, we'll give you X and Y and then Z will come later as an update. No, the solution is fully enclosed,
yeah.
encapsulated in it. Um, down to the transmitter that you need. The only thing that you need outside of this, if you're going to be connecting it to a non-Bluetooth transmitter, like the something with a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, you need to carry
Yeah.
that special cable. Or, as I learned from your video, apparently we can also use the OnePlus adapter, a USB-C to 3.5 headphone jack adapter, which I think I
You
have
can diddle
on my
a
desk.
dongle.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. This cable is actually pretty decent, but you're right. Something happens to this cable when you're traveling, or you lose it, and
That's why
it's
you come to me for the nerdy stuff, guys. I'm actually testing what analog USB adapters you can put in a case that broadcasts a Bluetooth audio signal. So no
But I'm
more
glad that you brought
spoilers
in
from
OnePlus
here.
because we're going to talk about them a little bit in,
Well,
after. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, again, you have you're gonna have a video on these coming out soon too, and
Absolutely.
I'm really looking forward to what you have to say about them because I think they've generally been reviewed really positive. My
Hmm.
video was sponsored, so I'm not trying to come to a verdict or a conclusion, but really for me, it's an opportunity to better showcase. We can get so much more specific than just gooder earbuds. And this is a prime example of what I'm talking about. They're a little pricey. They do things I've never seen any other earbuds do, and the company is making a claim about where they should be used. And
Yes.
that to me is a much more interesting conversation than just I think it's got better bass. So hopefully other people will kind of appreciate what I tried to do with a sponsored video there.
Of course, and make sure to catch there's that little bit at the end of the video where Juan does a little bit of a two-step dance at the end with the polys, making sure to
Yeah,
demonstrate that they don't fall out of your ears when he's dancing. So
for sure.
I thought that was
Yeah, it was
my
a little
favorite part of the
do-si
video.
do. I like
Hey,
I don't think people understood that I almost minored in dance in college, so
some
I got to
dance
bring
guy
that back
is
from time to
making a
time.
comeback. Some definitely
Some
some
dance.
dance. No, I mean, you've cornered the whole concept of having
It's
some
just some
guy
guy.
and add a descriptor in the middle, right? Some fancy guys, some Juan After Dark
some
guy. It's
some
like
after
all
dark guy.
yeah,
Some yeah.
it's one of
I,
those.
I got another cue. Like someone hit me up for this afternoon because we're going to talk a little gaming news. Because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
also used this as a bit of a test, but someone also was like, "Are you now some gaming guy?" And you're like,
yeah.
"Well, no, I'm trying not to be,
I
but
saw the preview of the game, and we're gonna talk. I think I'm excited to see that there's a new title in that genre. Well, not genre. The genre has been around for a while. It's more of
yeah."
the follow up to the game, to
This
the
this
movies.
this is I have a lot of thoughts, and I'm only about 2 hours into the actual gameplay so far.
Oh crap! You
But
started it already. Okay, good. So you're ahead of
I,
me.
I wanna I wanna shift just real quick.
Of course.
The heads up in the announcement that if you are running Pixel betas, the new update just got pushed. So
Okay,
I've got
good.
my Pixel Fold finally. They take so long to update the pixels, but my
I
Pixel Fold just rebooted, and you can already tell that it's 11 times faster, and it's smoother with no bugs, and it feels like a totally fresh phone
so it's
because
that
you ran the
much
update.
better than my OnePlus Open. Like, dang it.
Yeah.
I guess we
Yeah,
could
I
have
mean,
just ended
basically,
our
if
videos.
you have a OnePlus Open now,
Yeah.
then you kind of have inferior, obsolete garbage.
We need to get Oxygen OS 14 on the OnePlus Open just to get even closer to the goodness of the Pixel Fold. I'll say
That's
that
right. For the good worth itness
for
of
the
the Pixel Fold.
absolutely. No, absolutely. If you guys haven't had a chance to, of course, we're kind of a little bit teasing a chat or a video, a couple of videos
Yeah, we
that
are a
Juan and
pair.
I, yeah, just a pair. I call them long form because they're more conversational. It's not really sitting there and we're just
Yeah.
doing battles and stuff like that. I mean, there was a couple of fists that went out, but then I'll say the battle ended with more of a. I feel like it's something to be watched. I'll say that. Just definitely something you sit down, you chill, you turn it on, maybe even turn on just the audio, let the video play in the background, and
Yeah.
enjoy the chat. Um, and that kind of went out yesterday. There's a couple of our videos covering the OnePlus. So the OnePlus Open, the Pixel Fold, and then the Z Fold 5. Like we pretty much cornered the whole US foldable market, I guess, at that point, right? Those are the players. Speaking
That's
of
all of them.
the
Yeah.
Z Fold 5, actually, I just received One UI 6 on the Z Fold 5, official One UI 6, like
Nice.
finally Android 14.
It's about time.
Well, they've been running their beta for quite some time. Like I've enjoyed their beta program pretty decent. And the final
Hmm.
update was so small that it was just like bug fixes and then full version, no more beta. So that's nice. So I'm
That's
just
good.
waiting for the S23 Ultra to get that, so my wife can get up to that. But otherwise, yeah, no, no, I'm.
But yeah.
It's been a little bit busy production wise. I'm back in kind of like a continuous, back in the flow of things. Like, maybe that's the better way to say it.
Hmm.
I'm not trying to make it sound like it's just I went through a little bit of a stint a little bit after the trip. I came back from Singapore, and I'm back on my feet. So I'll say that.
So
Yeah.
you're back in the New York groove. I'm back.
Absolutely.
Back in the New York. Okay, I'm not gonna
Not
keep.
familiar with this. Yeah, it's okay.
I'm
Sorry.
not singing it well enough for us to get a copyright strike.
Oh,
So
good.
that's at least one perk
Well,
right
we got to
there.
get monetized first. Let's get monetized
But
first. Then we can be
we've
monetized.
got on this. That's never gonna happen. We do podcasts on YouTube, and we're not already famous. If we were immensely famous and then we did a podcast on YouTube, then Google would be like, "Here's some monies." But so Pixel Fold,
Yes.
this update, I'm literally like it literally rebooted about 10 minutes before we jumped in. So
Yeah.
it doesn't look like a massive update for one of these QPR. Was it QPR Beta 2.2?
Hmm.
Um, I'm not expecting a ton of differences here, but we're also kind of lining up. Should be hearing soon about some small bug fixes and patches coming to the consumer releases for Pixels.
Yeah. Or
And
I think December, the one in 3 weeks. I mean, I know we're
well,
beginning
the
of
one in December
November.
is going to be a big
That's supposed to
feature
be the
drop.
big one. Yeah. Exactly.
But I'm kind of curious to see, and I don't know how you feel about this. I don't think there needs to be anything drastic, but
Hmm.
I do feel we need to see some of those iterative polish updates on my Pixel 8 Pro. So I'll be curious to see what Google
Yeah.
pushes out for November, because we know we've got a feeling December is going to be a bigger meteor
Oh, absolutely.
feature drop and a larger OTA. So
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see what November has in store.
Well, the November update should be coming up next week. I think, was it Tuesday next week, right? The first Tuesday of
Hmm.
every month. So
Yeah.
this month, obviously, that doesn't qualify, but this week, not this month. Um, I think I'm. I mean, with the exception of a few minor little hiccups that every once in a while, like for me, there if there's one thing that's been kind of getting to me every once in a while, extended audio listening on the Pixel 8 Pro.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm not talking like 5-10 minutes. I'm talking like 20, 30, and
Yeah.
maybe beyond. I've had some issues with audio dropping off, and I don't understand why. And I can't specifically pinpoint it to to one unit. Like, it's not like just one pair of buds. I've had it
Yeah.
happen where I'm like, I'm in it. I go down to the gym. I'm running. I'm doing a whole bunch of, and then it just stops for whatever reason and picks up again, and then it goes. I'm like, okay. And it's not like it's in my pocket. It's sitting in
Yeah.
front of me. So those little hiccups, I feel like those are just software update that they can fix. Um, but other than that, honestly, I know I said I was supposed to put out a video for it. I even have it's I have the notes. I have the whole thing. Just need to shoot the video. I'm in that point
You
right
got to
now.
stay in that hustle grind set. The second you let off
Yeah.
the gas for just a second, you're like, "Oh, I remember what it was like to just live life." Huh. That's kind of nice.
Sometimes we need to recoup from, like, okay, so travel, as much fun as it is, takes a lot out of us. And for some reason, at least for
Hmm.
me, Asia travel hits me different than European travel. And it's something to do with the time zone shift in going east from
Yeah.
where we are than it is to go west. Like, going to Europe, I adjust quicker. I come back home. I adjust back quicker to the timeline very nicely. But something about when I go to Asia, and I was in Singapore like maybe not even 5-6 days. It wasn't that long of a trip, but it was enough for me to adjust because
Hmm.
I was up all day and I had to go to sleep during the night. That when I came back, it took me at least about 5-6 days to get back to in a energy level feeling good enough to get back into normal stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, between that and then of course day job and all of that, and then obviously things
Yeah.
piling up. So I started producing stuff. So yeah, I'll do that. But the Pixel 8 Pro has been doing great. It handled almost
Yeah.
everything I've been throwing at it pretty nicely.
I'm happy to see some of those refinements. I still feel like we're kind of validating some of our concerns.
Hmm.
So I'll be curious to see what software can actually improve and what we're just going to always have to label as a concern to a prospective buyer.
Yeah.
This is an aspect of owning a Pixel that might be kind of a concern if you live here or you use your devices like this.
Hmm.
But that's also kind of one of the reasons why I feel like, you know, we improved the situation on the Pixel 7 Pro significantly
Hmm.
over the first several months of updates and patches. And then from
Absolutely.
Android 13 to Android 14, we saw power management and performance improvements there too.
Hmm.
And I kind of feel like Pixel 8 Pro won't be as dramatic, but I'm still hoping we'll see those little polish, those little improvements to stability. For me, this is the first time I really have felt this way with a Pixel where
Hmm.
I don't trust that when I pull the phone out of my pocket and I double tap that power button, I am immediately going to launch the camera in the way that I've always kind of trusted Pixels going back to like the Pixel 4.
Okay.
And this one has just been a little clumsier at that launch, and I'm getting so finicky deep in the weeds with one, like if it lags in just the wrong way, that feels completely alien to me on a Pixel. Like that's usually one of those things that I just count on blindly.
Yeah.
And there have been times like one of my daughter's friends, he's 7, and he saw me take a picture of Lex completely blind.
Hmm.
And this blew his mind because his family is all iPhone, all iPad, all Mac. Dad is like an Apple guy. And so it was one of those things, like I'm pulling the phone out of my pocket, double tap volume rocker, and phone goes immediately back in my pocket. And he saw, because he's at waist level to me, he
Hmm.
saw that my screen flashed and that like my camera took a photo of Lex. Had never witnessed anything like that in his entire young life. That kind of use I could not pull off during some of our Halloween festivities. There was this Jeep that was covered in all this like fake blood, like it had been
Hmm.
smeared by zombie handprints and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Jeep's driving away, and I have my Pixel 8, and it's out. It's not even like I'm having to do anything with it. I double tap the power button, and I'm waiting, and the camera interface, like the outline of the viewfinder, is up, and then it took another second for it to populate what the cameras were actually seeing as the Jeep drove away, and I couldn't get the shot that I
You
wanted out
lost
of
the
it.
shot because of that. Yeah. The quickness of that
That's
instant
something
response. Yeah.
I totally expect on almost any other phone is occasionally gonna happen, and genuinely I've had so few moments like that with Pixels. Because usually what happens is I can get into the camera, but then maybe I can only take 1 or 2 photos.
So, like this is what he's talking about. You just double press. There's that
Yeah,
slight delay. So here it is.
it,
Double it. So right now, I think it's because the camera was launched. So that's sorry. The
So
true test for
I
this
didn't
is
have I didn't have the Pixel 8 plugged in. It wasn't like it was charging in my car.
so
It
this is
wasn't
what
like
it
it
would
was
do.
at an elevated temperature.
Yeah.
And it pulled up so that I could see the buttons to toggle the different sensors. The shutter button was up. But in the moment, it felt like tens of seconds passed. It was probably like a half a second, but it was like the video, the viewfinder was not kicking on, and it was like ah. So those little moments, again, that is so hyper specific. But for me, that stood out because it is so uncommon for me to have that kind of delayed
You
moment
shouldn't
getting
you, you shouldn't
to the
have to.
camera on a
And
Pixel.
I think for me, I think my biggest adjustment with the camera app has been the new UI element.
Yeah,
I
the
have
video
I have
photo
the
toggle.
so there's a video to photo toggle, but it's also the gallery. The gallery button moved up. So I have
Yep.
muscle memory of knowing exactly where my camera button is. So like I can just do boop, 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 like that. And I'm like, wait, no, I'm hitting
This
it's
is
not
the biggest departure on a Pixel camera app that we've
and
seen, I think, since the Pixel started.
oh no, no, absolutely. The
Yeah.
organizational structure of where things are. And don't get me wrong, I'm excited for the fact that we have more options. And I like the fact that
Yeah.
we have more control.
Hmm.
And we're not complaining about it. It's more of that muscle memory adjustment that we just,
But we've
coming
never
off of
had to get used to so many new things in one generation of
yeah.
Pixel
And
before.
the camera
Yeah.
toggle for video has thrown me off a few times. Like where I'm like swiping away to jump into video because usually video is right next to photo, right?
Yep.
No, I got to remember, oh, I got to hit the button at the bottom, which is
Yep.
again, it's a memory thing. So video has, when I was in Singapore, that was one of my things I had to kind of adjust. As I just switch between different clips and uh, again,
I had
we
to I had to rewalk some of my nighttime shots for my camera deep dive because I had forgotten to disable the 50 megapixel mode, and it's such a small little icon. I was like, man, these shots are just there's something off. They're not snapping like I'm used to. Oh,
oh,
oh, that's not That's
Those
not
are
what I'm
50s.
trying to
Those are
test.
50s, man. Those are 50s. What are you doing
All
with
right, well, I walked a mile. Better
the
backtrack.
get,
Redo all those shots.
get the steps in, my friend.
I
That's
got
my
I got some
philosophy.
extra steps that week. So
Yeah.
TK and I, we did a twofer. So
Mhm.
on my channel, TK was kind enough to join me to talk about the Galaxy Z Fold 5.
Yep.
I need everybody to know the video on my channel is purposely shorter because I cut out most of me talking about how much I don't like Samsung. Okay? I did this for you, the viewer.
I love.
And TK had some incredibly salient points to bring up in the whole like ecosystem of foldables and some of the philosophy that we're talking about back and forth. I even did praise Samsung for things like marketing.
Hmm.
So on my channel, he's talking Z Fold 5. I've spent a little more time with the Pixel Fold than he has. So on his channel, on your channel, I shared some thoughts and again philosophy and some back and forth. And between those two, I think we've got a pretty solid round robin for North America,
Yeah.
looking at OnePlus Open versus Pixel Fold versus Galaxy
Z
Z
Fold
Fold
5.
5.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys will combine those two. It's about an hour of conversation all combined.
It's just about. Yep.
Um, but for us and for as long-winded as we get, I feel like there wasn't a lot of fat in our conversations. Like I
No,
feel
no.
like we were actually surprisingly on point for talking about our different like feelers. Like I even go off on a duo tangent that still is appropriate for talking about the Pixel
Well,
Fold.
the reality, when we start looking at what we have and where we are, and we also kind of start pulling in where some of the inspirations were brought from, it is absolutely an exciting for me conversation for me because we get to cover the different facets or the different aspects of what makes this device unique, makes this other device more unique, which one is
Yeah.
better, and the fact of the matter is, the Open, the Fold, and the Fold are, well, I'll say this for 2023, this is an absolute fantastic time to be, at least in the US market, because we have three foldables that are competing in the same market, available to the same consumers,
Yeah.
and that are geared for the North American consumer. And I know we're focusing, we're saying it as if that's the only place in the world that exists. Absolutely not. Obviously, there is
Yeah, the
outside of
rest
the
of the
US.
world has had like Huawei and
They've had
Oppo and
Huawei,
Xiaomi and
Xiaomi, multiple
Honor
versions
and
of
yeah.
Honor. They have absolutely
We're so
years in
behind.
advance. Yeah, we are very behind when it comes to that. But the reason we are excited for us is because we went from having four generations of a foldable to, on the fifth version of it, now we have some competition. So the hopefully is 2024 becomes even more of an exciting year for us,
Yeah.
so for everybody, because we need competition to innovate, and I think that's the catalyst for it.
Well, the excitement isn't reserved for 2024 because as much as we talk this stuff out, like opening weekend is all we get to talk about this stuff. I mean,
No,
like
no.
Pixel Fold is evolving in a really interesting way, and
Mhm.
you discovered something on the OnePlus Open that I'm sure a number of people are going to appreciate.
Dude, I was so
What
happy to
that appears to be
discover
some sort of thin stick-like implement.
it's a
It's got
mustache.
it's it's
It's
got
my
like
new
kind of a
mustache.
flat side and then like a pointy side, and it's
Yeah,
really skinny, like
it
some
does.
kind of I don't know, like mechanical crayon type
It
contraption.
it is absolutely a mechanical crayon. How did you know, man? I've been using crayons for quite some time. It's this thing that allows me to basically open up
What just happened there? You touched the stick to your
and
OnePlus Open,
let's go
and
ahead and
then
bring the
things
marker.
happened on the screen.
And because ya boy can write. And of course, if Sony likes my pen.
Oh,
And there
wow.
we
You
are.
signed your name
It is
in a
official.
bizarre chicken scratch style handwriting,
I told you
but
not
you
to
did
call
it
it
with
chicken
the
scratch anymore, man.
stick.
We talked about this stuff.
Okay, so explain what's happening here because that is not any basic capacitive stylus.
No, no, no,
That is
absolutely. This is
something.
so this goes back to day one, literally the day both Juan and I first laid our eyes on and held the OnePlus Open. We
Yeah.
both noticed a couple of things. Juan noticed that the OnePlus Open features video out, and I
Hmm.
noticed that there's a setting in the there's an option in the settings for something called a stylus.
Now, explain this magical technology called the stylus.
The stylus. It's a magical contraption that allows us to make things out of nothing. No,
But where would one have acquired such a stylus, TK?
one would have had to have played with a version of this phone, one version earlier. This is the OnePlus. It's not the OnePlus. This is the Oppo N2. This is last year's
Mm-hmm.
generation, and this device at launch supported a stylus. That's why the pen is actually the same size as the phone. So when you look at them
It's
together,
adorable.
it's absolutely adorable. So Oppo released the phone and released the stylus for it. So there was two versions of it. There's the Oppo Pen and the Oppo Pen 2. But this version on the N2 only worked on the inside display. So Oppo did
Mm-hmm.
offer that solution, but Oppo decided to keep it in the market that the N2 was released, which was China. So we never saw this
Nice.
pen come out of China. And when we noticed it, also the fact that this was launched at the same time as the OnePlus, that there was the option there. While I was in Singapore, I was lucky enough to meet a friend during the launch event of the N3 that he brought in his version of this and he tested it out. So he was able to confirm
Nice.
for me because prior to that, it would have been just me guessing, right? I would have been like,
Yeah.
should I buy the pen? Should I not? He not only confirmed it, he made sure we were talking about it. So long story short, I was able to basically confirm that I needed to buy this pen ASAP and I needed to get it in my life. So I picked it up, I got it, and lo and behold, man, you take it out of the case, the phone recognizes it, the UI jumps in, you set it up, you use it, and it works on both displays.
Ah,
That
nice.
is for us, it is absolutely
That's pretty great.
fantastic. And not only that, it also works in because it's a Bluetooth connected device. It also works as a shutter control for the camera for
Nice.
both video and for camera.
Now,
Also, if you want to do like burst modes and stuff like that.
I don't want to completely spoil
Oh
your
no,
your
yeah, yeah.
entire video because you
There's
did put
there's a
out
few other things. Yeah, there's another few things
a
going
little
on.
video on this.
Yeah.
Um, is this kind of the final? I don't even. Words are hard, and I'm exhausted, and it's been a long week. Is this the final linchpin? Is this the final barrier? Are we now just kind of looking at Oppo and OnePlus when software features like this are supporting direct hardware implementation
Mhm.
and the build of the OnePlus Foldable and the Oppo Foldable are almost identical?
Well, I pretty much.
Are we finally to that point where we can stop pretending that they're two separate companies and
I
that
think
like the development has all kind of funneled into a unified vision for this BBK brand?
at least for the open N3 conversation, yes. I think this is pretty much I am not saying 100%, I'm going to say 99% the same device purely from the sense of I know at least of one feature that the N3 has that the open doesn't have. And that's
Okay.
primarily Oppo Share. That's because Oppo has
Yeah, a
its own
software feature.
proprietary
Yeah,
it's a
for
software
sure.
feature available in China, but it's also available on its international offerings alongside nearby share for the services for the devices that do support
Yeah.
it. It's Oppo Share. It's their version of Wi-Fi direct file transfer, which is crazy fast. So I'm hoping that at some point that does actually transfer over, and maybe we'll just call it OnePlus Share or something like that. But without that specific feature, yeah, they're pretty much like a 99% the same. Oppo has a unique color on its own, and OnePlus picked up its own unique color. So the green is for
Sure.
OnePlus, the gold is for
Right.
Oppo, but it's typical colors. Those are their own like
But when I see something like a stylus with Bluetooth support,
yes.
this is a very specific kind of accessory where we have seen um, other examples of region-based accessories not supporting across different variations of a
That was the
brand.
surprise of it.
So
At the launch of the N3, we had the opportunity to talk to the executives, and we asked. Like, I was one of my questions to say, "Hey, what we noticed there's a stylus feature. You didn't share any information about it on stage. What is it? What's going on?" And they were very frank. This was the weird thing about it. Like, they
yeah,
were very frank to say, "Yeah, we support a pen. It's in there. Supports the inside
sure.
and the outside display. It's the N2 pen." And I was like, no, but okay, so when that happened to me, I had a serious 2020 flashback to when you and I were sitting in a bar in was it Venice, where LG
Yeah.
sat us down with the V60
Yep.
and not a word, not a mention of stylus support
No
on the
one
thing.
pointed it out. Yeah.
Nobody mentions it. There's a setting in there, but nobody mentions it. And then, of course, I think you would later on were able to discover which bamboo pen was able to support it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, but why not? Like
Why
this,
not
you
talk
should have,
about
yeah,
that?
lead in with that. I realize not everybody's as excited about the fact that, a foldable device supports a pen, or back
Yeah.
then, even with the LG. But realistically, is this: if you ever wanted the option and now you know that it exists, you have a path to make things happen with it.
That
If you
would
don't care,
influence your purchasing
that could
behavior.
absolutely,
Yeah.
because if you would have ever said that, well, Samsung has a pen, has the S Pen for it, like, absolutely, I think S Pen, don't get me wrong, is still way more advanced than what the Oppo Pen is doing.
Yeah.
But when we start talking about the fact that you do want precise touch control, you do want the camera shutter release functionality, you want to be able to use the front display, the one that makes perfect sense to take notes on and write with, it's without
Hmm.
having to open the phone. Also, surprisingly enough, it's the harder version of the two displays that we have,
Yeah.
which is a little bit more forgiving. That's the one thing that I
Yeah.
feel like people are not, necessarily seeing it. So, and I know there was a lot of conversations, there was I think some videos posted over on Reddit, and I've had some people even reach out to me asking, it's like, hey, I heard you saw, or you can confirm that the device supports S Pen. I was like, I've heard it, I've seen pictures, I haven't confirmed it myself. So that was the exciting part. I was finally able to put it out, and it seems like people are as excited as I am to see, yeah,
Yeah.
the Open is
Oh,
even better.
I'm stoked, and I'm actually just a little to kind of piggyback on that last point you were making. I'm a little frustrated that this is something that OnePlus isn't making any noise about, and it's another one of these practical expansion features for a foldable that helps us point to other use cases that
I'm
someone might be interested in, and that we can't be
uh
OnePlus's marketing division.
no, no,
Like, if
no,
they're not
no.
leading the conversation on it, then it's only going to stay in this little camp of enthusiasts who care to find out about all these other menu settings and
Well,
all these other
I'll
accessory
I'll I'll
options.
say this. I'll say this. I have, I mean, and I've heard from friends. I'll say that it's not official. I haven't heard anything from anybody directly, but I'm hearing some conversations that potentially says Oppo will be releasing a global version of this in a month or
Okay,
so. So maybe at the end of the year or beginning of the year,
that'd be cool.
we will have something. And I think the moment Oppo releases it, OnePlus will have it. So I'm thinking, I don't think we're too far off.
Or at
Um,
least, because I know you had to jump through some extra. I mean, we,
Quite a
we do
bit.
business with a couple of importers and stuff, but that
Oh
always
yeah.
means that we're getting inflated costs over what it
Mhm.
would cost to
Oh,
just buy in
absolutely.
China.
Yo, no, no, absolutely.
And even if it's just an international version, that should help reduce some of the pain points in importing. If
Well,
someone wanted to take something like this
I'm
for a
also
spin on
hoping,
their
though,
own.
is once it becomes available globally, or international version of it, we'll start getting more functions, because I want more
Yeah.
options, specifically dedicated options. Like, I want to actually, I'd like to be able to get the Notes app on the main display outside as a shortcut on my lock screen. Right now, it doesn't show up
Yeah.
as an option. Just show that as an option there, as opposed to the Google Wallet. Maybe I don't want Google Wallet
Hmm.
for a certain amount of time. Um, and then, of course, maybe some other functions for launching different applications. You can take screenshots. You could do a whole. There's a lot of functions built in, and as it becomes
No
more
one,
adopted, that's how you get it.
LG and Moto keep getting close, but I don't
Mhm.
feel anyone has really brought the same consideration of not just feature set but customization that Samsung has with S Pen.
Oh no, yeah.
I love the little pop-up menu that you have on the LG phones,
Mhm.
but then you don't have the Bluetooth functionality or the wireless remote shutter, stuff like that. I love the stylus on my Moto Edge Plus 2022,
Mhm. Oh yeah. They
but
they
they
took that
didn't they
away.
didn't
They
but
took
they
that
took it
away.
away for the
Yeah, for the
2023.
23. Yeah, I
So
was like,
so
oh
again,
my
we
god.
keep getting so close to a good S Pen competitor, and then we just don't. And so I do not believe for a second
Mhm.
that over the entire life cycle of the OnePlus Open are we going to see the same breadth of features for the OnePlus Pen as we do
It,
the S Pen.
it's a tough.
But
It's a
we saw
tougher. Yeah.
we saw a little glimmer of
Mhm.
some potential with the OnePlus tablet.
Oh yeah.
And if you can expand on just some of that and expand on some of the feature set for the foldable, now we've got a consistent accessory and a consistent experience
Yep.
that no one else is really offering. I mean, someone please correct me if I'm wrong, but we need at least two devices. You've got S Pens on phones and you've got S Pens on tablets.
Yep.
Lenovo had a pen last year, but outside of their really, really uber cheap phones that just have basic capacitive stick styly,
Yeah. The
we're not
Stylus.
getting the real feature rich stuff. And I can't think of anyone else who's delivering the same consistency across two different styles of product. If OnePlus becomes that company, how first of all, how crazy is that for productivity? But
Absolutely.
that would be a really interesting conversation point to fill a gap in the market for competition.
And I think, and the thing about it is, is Oppo had this last year, and they're continuing it on the N3. So the hope is that the conversation continues to go forward. We saw the improvement from having it supporting only the inside display to now supporting both inside outside display.
Yeah.
It is functional. It is small. I know a few people were asking us like, how do you carry it? Well, I mean, it comes in its own case, not case, but like its own, blue, I guess like a wireless charging dock that has USB-C and a built-in battery to charge the actual pen, but it's
Hmm.
small enough that if you put it in your pants pocket on the back side, like closer to the middle of your side, it actually
Okay.
almost disappears. You never have to
Nice.
worry about it, and it doesn't. It's in an area where it never creases, so it's not an issue. So for me, I've had it in my pocket since I've gotten the pen, and it just does not cause any issues at all for
It
me.
just works.
It just works. And like I said, I'm excited, and I was happy to see that OnePlus was one of the first people to like the tweet that I posted when I posted the video. I was like, yes, now please bring it to us
Yeah.
as an accessory, because we need. I love
It felt
accessories.
it
I love.
felt it felt good kind of correcting the OnePlus executives on video out, being like, I know
I
more about your phone than you do.
It was,
I know
yeah.
more than you.
Well, but the thing is, like, there are videos out there. This is the weird part about it, right? Because we have other creators that have put out videos, and I think somebody mentioned to me, said that they've seen a video where somebody said the Open does not support a pen, and I realized it's not that reviewer's fault, because we were told this
Yeah.
information. We were all, I guess, in a certain way together, and it's not that I don't believe when I get the list of specs and so on. I
Hmm.
always love going through the settings, because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, there's so many features. Every single device that we get, there's so many things that go into these devices. There is bound to be something that may have been missed. Video out is a big win for us
It's a
having this
big get.
on a
Yeah.
foldable and on a device from OnePlus, because we kind of lost it for the last few generations.
Yeah.
So all of those things plus pen plus lightweight goodness, cameras galore, all of that good stuff. So
This
yeah,
this is one of those things now where, and again, everyone knows my feelings on Samsung, um, but I remember playing with the Z Fold 4 and
mhm,
not really liking the Z Fold 4 pen experience because of like, as you're going over the crease, right? There's a feel to that
yeah,
that to me kind of got in the way of the functionality of what I love about S Pen, because I was a note guy and I was an active guy.
yep,
Those are my two all-time favorite Samsung lines. I mean, you can also add the Rugby if you remember the old rugged line of Samsung
okay.
phones.
I have
The
to I have to
Rugby
dig
Pro was
I have to
a
dig for that one.
monster.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
was great. Um, Sorry, it is me being old and remembering things that were a long time ago. Um,
Back in my old days,
but
but yeah,
but this is also what kind of helps reinforce why we want to see the kind of refinement
hmm,
where the hinge and the screen on the OnePlus Open, I still probably won't love that compared to like a really good glass screen tablet
hmm,
pen experience, but it's like another baby step that helps improve what I didn't like about the Z Fold 4. Samsung working on their hinge is another thing that helps us all get a better inner screen pen experience
yeah,
where we work out all these little mechanical bits and stuff. And that is always just a generational iterative kind of design challenge. Can we make it a
absolutely,
little bit sleeker? Can we make it a little bit lighter? Can we make the bump between the panels a little less tactile as you're running a
exactly.
pen over those two pieces? So that to me is also the other part of the excitement here, except for DeX. Now the OnePlus Open has managed to feature match or performance match everything that we might like about a Z Fold 5.
Yeah,
These are direct head-to-head competitors in a way that I don't know. I, I, I can't think of a time where OnePlus has positioned a product to be a direct head-to-head competitor, and it's still the price undercut that we usually associate with the brand. That
I,
this is a very unique proposition from OnePlus that I don't think we've seen as directly. The closest I would put it is the OnePlus 9 Pro, where the OnePlus 9 Pro was a
Mhm.
premium tier phone that offered some features we didn't see on Apple and Samsung, and it was like $100 cheaper than, kind of a comparable iPhone or a Galaxy. And the Open is now kind of in that same conversation space. This
No,
is a very interesting position for them to be in.
it is, and it's exciting to be able to see them in this light. I think that was my big thing about it. We since I heard about the Open back at MWC, I've been basically just nipping at the bits, just basically waiting. Any information we
Yeah,
see, anything we go, because for the longest time I
I
actually
want
thought it
it.
was
I
going to
want
be
it. I
more.
want it.
Yeah, I honestly thought it was going to stick to Oppo's form factor, which I was very happy with. It's a small candy bar style.
Yeah.
I can reach the other side. Everything is actually reachable with one hand. And then we saw we saw Pixel come out with the Fold, and it went a little bit wider, a little bit taller. And then OnePlus comes in with the refinement that we wanted, but it kind of like we didn't know we wanted it till we saw it in our hand, and they're like, "Oh my god, this is the thing
Yeah.
we've been wanting," kind of thing. So
It's nice.
I don't want to hype it up too much for people like I mean, just watch the videos that we've put out, see the proof in the pudding kind of a situation. It isn't just about two geeks or two nerds sitting here chatting up a
Right.
product. It is
But you don't have to
truly,
take our words for it.
please
Butterfly
watch.
in the
Yay.
sky.
The more you know.
I can fly
Um,
twice as high.
it is one of those situations where I feel like it's good for us as a user base. It's great for us for
Yeah.
experience. Um, I will still champion the conversation with OnePlus to try to get these little maybe road shows. Go around, man. Set up a little,
Yeah.
1-2 team, whatever. From now till the end of the year, have them go to Best Buys. Just do, regions, maybe specific key areas. Like Dallas, New York,
I'm
LA,
not
San
trying
Francisco.
to compromise our integrity or our reputations as being consistent reviewers, but OnePlus, if you want to hire us just to drive around in a van
Hmm.
and go to malls and set up a little pop-up kiosk and talk to people about your phone, I'm sure we could work out some rates on making that happen. I don't know if you guys like remember the crew
I,
from
I I
GP
can
Review
definitely
who's
write
over
up
at
something right
you want,
here.
yeah, if you
I
could
can
just
write
scribble
it
down
down
some
right now.
notes, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
exactly. You
Thanks.
said right. Yeah,
I'm really
exactly.
bad at I have like a paper notepad over here, which is very similar to your paper notepad. But like the guys over at Petapixel now, like you want us to just like talk about your phone or something? I'm sure you could probably do something like that. We could do it.
But I think
So
it's more about just getting, getting it in the getting that perspective out there from where you go to a Best Buy, you're going to see a Pixel Fold, you're going to see a OnePlus Fold.
yeah,
Sorry, not the one, the Pixel Fold and the Z Fold,
Z Fold. Yeah.
and we want to get that conversation saying, hey, there's another player in the market, and let's just see how things go. But I think at this point where we are, the exciting part about this is it's there, it's out, it's open sales now, so people can pick it up if they want to check it out. The pen, I hope the rumors I'm hearing do come true, which means probably by the end of the year, maybe early next year, we should be able to pick up our own. If you want to be able to
Or at
pick it up
least
in the
just hear
US,
some kind of announcement on it.
something
Yeah.
about it, at least, bring it in. um and it's nice. I mean, and it works great. The poly, actually, that's the second device I had connected to the poly,
Nice.
because
Yep, that was mine too. It was a
uh
Pixel 8 Pro and OnePlus Open.
dude,
It was good times.
you got to stop doing this,
I
man.
know.
This is not okay.
We're just like we between the two of us, we are one functional adult human male.
I know, but like this is crazy now. I mean, we like I always thought, like, if you hang out with somebody long enough, but we don't really hang out as often, but we talk a lot, and maybe
Yeah,
that's
we
all you
do.
need to get that, mind melt kind
The
of going on.
wavelength, yeah.
Yeah, just be on the
So
same level.
we have two comments here that I want to read off, but first
Sure.
I know this is in jest, but do you think that this could actually maybe be a part of this conversation? JGJ says, does anyone think Samsung is sending cease and desist letters to smaller S Pen competition to scare them off?
Hmm.
Every single time we've seen someone do the Bluetooth connected additional functionality side menu Android thing, we see them back off at some point. Do you think they're actually, I mean, I am 90% sure JGJ is throwing this up in jest, but do you think that there's a there?
I don't think Samsung. No, I personally don't think it's so. I'll say it from this perspective. Samsung's development of the S Pen has gone through many iterations. What we have today
Hmm.
in the S Pen module that we have on the back of the Z Fold 5, in the either slim S Pen or the standard size S Pen, is still light years ahead of where this solution is, or what some of the other options that we've seen. I don't think Samsung jumps in and says cease and desist, because none of they don't own the Bluetooth protocol. They don't own S Pens. And they're, Oppo and and most companies that have released them never ever called them S Pens. They're called
Hmm.
pen. They'll call it stylus,
Yeah.
or pencil if you want to go Apple style. I think what's been happening more so is that companies typically try to experiment and they try different things. And if they don't see the adoption level that they were expecting at
And
the
then they just
time
kind of
when they
back off.
release it,
Yeah.
yeah, and I honestly think that's what probably happens. It's more so than the situation we have. The reason we have it on the OnePlus Open right now is absolutely, unequivocally, because of Oppo. It's because
Oppo.
Oppo
Yeah.
designed this last year. Oppo apparently sells these in China and kept it on to the new phone, which
It
is
was
the
a way for
M3.
them to reduce manufacturing costs by not
Oh no,
having multiple versions of the
exactly. Yeah,
same.
why
Yeah.
why have to reinvent the wheel when the wheel already runs? So
Yeah.
when they brought that over, and because OnePlus Oxygen and ColorOS share the same code, Oxygen OS is built on top of ColorOS. So with the exception of the Oppo share function, we carry everything over. So it is less work for OnePlus to try to remove a feature than to add it
Yeah.
later. So the end of the day, what we have right now is a byproduct of that, synergy that we're getting between the two. I don't think Oppo, I mean, obviously Oppo continued it 2 years in a row. They brought in more functionality. I feel like this is going to continue, but it is going to come down
Hmm.
to, again, adoption. If people don't buy the
Yeah.
pen when they're buying the Fold, the company may think, hey, this may not be as important as we thought it was. So let's just move on. Where Samsung is kind of continuing we're just going to give S Pen to everything, right? Because the Fold didn't originally have an S Pen, and it picked it up after the S series picked it up. I think it was the S22 before they became the Note. So it is
Yeah.
Samsung's way of, permeating the S series, the S Pen functionality over to other things. It's never been 100% like the Note, but obviously,
Yeah.
it- I don't yeah. So to answer the question very kind of concisely, I don't think it is a cease and desist. I think it's purely based on demand, and companies have to basically, figure out, does this make
JGJ
sense?
even popped back up and said, "Yeah, I absolutely was jesting." I have so much ire for Samsung corporate
Hmm.
that I wouldn't be surprised if someone said, "That menu that pops out when you push the button looks too much like our menu.
Oh
Have
my
the
god.
lawyers draft up a release on the functionality of their pen. How dare they?
Oh
Well,
my god.
I'm Samsung, Mr. Samsung."
Well, I think for
I'm
me,
pretty sure that's how it went down.
I'm pretty sure you nailed that. That that
Totally. That South Korean dialect. I mean, yeah. Come
those
on, that
those
accent
those
was on
years
point.
in acting school have definitely paid off, dude.
Telling you,
Absolutely.
I almost minored in dance.
Some dancing guy. I'm telling you, you guys gotta watch his video. Seriously, in the Poly video, that dance bit at the end, absolutely. I'd love for you guys to come back and just give me comments and let me know, what do you think? Could he improve on the?
Lies,
It,
damn lies. I love it.
Come on, man! I was trying to get you into getting the video up to
I
like 10K
appreciate
and
it.
like by tomorrow morning. No, it's exciting to see, and I think the beauty of it is, I think it was developed for a different market. We got it because of that collaboration, and
Yeah.
it was inadvertent initially at the beginning, and I think it's so nice to
I
benefit.
I
Like
only
we get to
hope.
benefit from Oppo's
Yeah.
development for 2 years.
I
Come on.
only hope that this maybe encourages some of these Chinese brands to stop making so many different, unique regional flavors.
Yeah,
Cut
that
back
we.
your production costs, cut back your development costs. Obviously, some of these things still need to go through the local regional equivalents of our FCC. I
Oh no,
mean, that's
absolutely.
kind of what burned the Pixel for like the hand tracking and stuff in a lot of regions because it was operating at a frequency and it was using certain types of cameras and we
Oh,
couldn't
the
get
the
the
Project Selvi.
approvals.
Yeah, on the
Yeah,
four. Yeah,
we
exactly.
couldn't get approvals for it to sell. Like in India, we couldn't sell the Pixel 4. I'm saying we. Google couldn't sell the Pixel 4 because of some of those issues. But the more you can refine one singular idea for the product, I think one, it's easier to talk about, and two, you save money not building a whole bunch of different
Well,
versions
and
of
Xiaomi
that.
does it Xiaomi does it very, very nicely. I think the rebranding of certain K series devices that they release in Asia or in India, and they rebrand it to another version for the international market. It's the same
Yeah,
exact hardware, slightly different model number, but at the end of the day, it's
yeah.
again, it's like a plus versus, sorry, an open versus an N3.
Yeah, and sure, we totally understand you've got to tune radios to
Yeah.
different local bands and frequencies. Great. But the whole rest of the phone, give us the IR blasters, give us the stylus support, give us this the video output, give us all of this additional functionality, and I think you make a much better case for why your mini tablet exists and how you can expand on the role of a mini tablet to do more stuff. Samsung has the conversation in the right place,
Yeah. Yeah.
but now with some competitive iteration from Oppo, they're gonna have to. This is if you're a fan of Samsung, you have to be critically excited for a strong OnePlus in this space because
Hmm.
that's the only way your Samsung products are gonna get better
Yeah.
with some competition. So I'm really excited. I've been loving spending time with the Pixel Fold. I've
Hmm.
been loving spending time with the OnePlus Open, especially from our conversation, like really just sitting down and kind of considering the two. There's so much that I like about both, but now like these companies actually have to be on their game,
Yeah.
right? So
And I think
next
this
year should
is,
be another strong year for this iteration.
yeah, no, and I think it's in with some of the like behind the door, closed doors, and the conversations that I've seen, and where we've seen leaks of a foldable, like a OnePlus, not a OnePlus, like a Z Fold 5 or an earlier or a demo version of it or something that had an S Pen built into it.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the type of technologies we want to be able to see. I mean, push the envelope,
Mm-hmm.
give us the improvements that we want. I think the design for the Z Fold 5, 3, 4, and 5 have proven that Samsung knows how to make hardware, knows how to improve on hardware.
Yeah.
I think it's what we just need to start seeing is new form factors and maybe slightly different variations on what we've lived with, because I think the demand for a wider version of the phone.
Samsung's got to show us that they can take a risk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like give us an S20, an S22, an S22, an S22, just like a plus version of the S20. Don't give me the S23 Ultra. I mean, I'm not saying don't botch your product line, because I obviously you need to make sure you're not. I think that's the thing is from a
Yeah,
business
I
standpoint,
feel you. Yeah, I know what you're
you
saying.
know,
Again, we're not saying nothing we're saying right now. I hope anyone is thinking like that we're asking for something unicorn impossible,
no, 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 yeah,
because
yeah,
that's also really annoying too. Is like all the conversations I'm sure you've had too, where it's like, oh, the OnePlus is too expensive, and you're like, compared to what? You wanted some magical unicorn device at half the price with 10 times more specs, and you can't even quantify what it is that you want. You just know you wanted more because it's a OnePlus. So you should have gotten more for it to be worth it. And that's the only way that OnePlus can sell phones is if they're at fire sale losses for the company. We're not asking for anything like that, but this is the right time for Samsung to examine their engineering, look at their display technologies, really play to the strengths of all of the sub brands that
mhm,
make components at Samsung, and they've got to step up their camera game. They've got to step up their hinge design. They've got to
mhm,
step up battery life and power management and charging speeds, things like that. And
yep,
then OnePlus can get so much glee out of old nerds like us just because they have an IR blaster. And you're like, Samsung, you made some great TVs. It's not outside. It's not beyond the pale for you to
make them work
put
with your
in
phone.
a TV focused feature like having an IR blaster on your phone. So anyway,
I'm with you.
that's enough. I'm soapboxing
No, no, no,
again.
no,
We
absolutely, absolutely.
we did an hour-long conversation talking about these three foldables. I can shut up for a minute about some of
I
this
think
stuff
it's a
here.
perfect timing, though, seriously, to start talking about at least something that came. I mean, I'll be honest with you. It came out of left field for me because I wasn't
Yeah,
expecting this game to come out today.
really.
Um, I somehow it just totally went on another level. Like seriously, with the things going on in the last few weeks for me and everything,
We have been
I
busy. That
I
that's
caught it
completely
by
fair.
total coincidence at like around noonish. I was
Hmm.
scrolling through YouTube, and then suddenly something came up with my impressions of, RoboCop. I'm like, "What? There's a RoboCop
Yeah,
game? When
I
did
buy that for $1.
when did that happen?" Because like, you know what I mean? Like RoboCop
And
has
when did
been
it happen? It happened
happened.
today.
And when did Juan started playing? He started playing
Started
today.
today.
3 hours ago,
So
building up on
I
2.
went cheap, and I didn't pay for the Alex Murphy edition, which I think would have given me the download like 36 hours earlier. This today is RoboCop day.
Yeah.
So for anyone who doesn't know, RoboCop Rogue City is now available, a
Yep.
PC game.
Yep.
I got my copy on Steam. I paid for my copy on Steam. And I don't share a lot of my gaming these days because I don't know how you feel about this, but like I get so much glee out of testing gadgets, but testing gadgets is a job.
Yeah.
And when I was at Newegg, if they wanted to produce specific gaming content, I could contribute to it, but usually I was just there to host it, or I would help with some of the conversation. I wasn't responsible for the entire production from beginning to end
Mhm.
on covering games or reviewing games or doing anything like that. So
Yep.
gaming is my fun, safe little place where I almost always have something like my Steam Deck within arm's reach. I can always pick it up and go play for 10 minutes, then go help my daughter with her homework or something like that. Sorry, really rambling. I
No.
don't talk about gaming as much on my own channel because I want it to still be my fun hobby, not another side hustle part of my job. I had to do something silly today.
Okay.
RoboCop Rogue City is not the most groundbreaking or innovative first-person shooter,
No.
but
No.
it is so lovingly created in the cinematic retro futuristic world of 1980s RoboCop that if you have any fondness for the first two movies, I think you'll really appreciate the production design, the character modeling, the feel and the look of the world. And
Mhm.
I think you'll walk away from you stomp around as slow moving RoboCop and you shoot bad guys. That's not going to blow you away in terms of first person shooter mechanics, but it looks and feels like what you would think a
RoboCop,
RoboCop
cop game would have looked like
game should feel like.
outside of the 80s version of the RoboCop games that we got to play with, the
Well,
2D versions of those. Yeah.
and that's what I kind of love is if you remember like the Terminator arcade game.
Mhm.
You remember that you had the guns and you would shoot and you have to shoot Terminators and stuff. There's a bit of that arcadey feel to RoboCop to Rogue City,
Mhm.
where RoboCop's like targeting computer zones in on someone, and it looks just like the terrible line vector animations from the original RoboCop movie. Like this looked so futuristic in an age where fighter jets were just starting to show people what a heads-up display
Oh
could
my
look
god.
like.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
here's RoboCop with like subject targeting awareness, and that's how he aims his gun and stuff.
And
But it
subject
kind of
analysis and scanning and all. Yeah, exactly. No, no.
yeah, we besmirched that later on, and that's why we still don't have like a heads-up display today. But I'm hoping that Ray Neo X2 comes in soon. But the whole feel of that has a little of that Terminator arcade game kind of
Right.
feel. So you're
Mhm.
stomping around as RoboCop, and you're aiming your gun around, and you're shooting the bad guys. But there's a feeling of that kind of feels a little like the old arcade shooters.
Yeah.
But then you're also in a first person shooter with much more modern mechanics and health and like armor healing, and you've got a skill tree so you can upgrade components on RoboCop as the game kind of evolves. You can make him more persuasive when you're interrogating people, or you can make him more defensive. You can make him more of a tank. You can make him more offensive. You can turn him into a glass cannon. There's still the modern trappings of a first-person shooter, but then you go into a room and you start shooting a whole bunch of punks, 1980s style with mohawks, and it just clicks all of that nostalgia bait, all of the member berries of pumping quarters into a Terminator arcade game, or
Yep.
the old Nintendo like 2D platformers and stuff. So it's really lovely. But I had to do something kind of dumb
Mhm.
this afternoon. So the first thing I tried to play RoboCop on was my Steam Deck.
I was about
And
to
let
ask.
me tell you, this new engine not very friendly to the Steam Deck. So
Not.
I'm gonna pull up so that we can kind of share some of this. Oh, I forgot to share my screen. I'm gonna share my screen
Oh,
here,
okay. So you're gonna share it
and,
for
and
okay.
and I feel you guys will get a sense of what I'm talking about. Let me actually full screen this too. And so this is just kind of that opening sequence where we're 5 minutes through me setting it up. I did like a scan for
Hmm.
it to choose the best settings to run on my Steam Deck. The scan was absolutely incorrect. And even with further adjustments to these settings, this game is completely unplayable in sort of the most hilarious way. So I've muted the sound so nothing like that's really going to pop up. You're seeing my Twitch stream here.
Okay.
Just I saved the highlight, and you start off like, oh wow, this actually looks pretty good for the Steam Deck.
Hmm.
The RoboCop model looks on point. All of the character model and the animation, that looks great. And then you get into the world, and the world actually looks really cool. This is the retro futuristic Detroit. It looks a little cyberpunky, but in
Hmm.
a nostalgia retro futuristic kind of way. And here I am, slow moving, slow walking, stomping RoboCop, and then I come up on this van, and I can see through the van. Well, that's
Hey,
wrong.
you got that upgrade.
Yeah, so apparently RoboCop has X-ray vision, but because this engine is so detailed and so much in this engine is destructible. So I go through and I start like messing with like game settings. Here, let me skip just a little bit more. Um, it all starts falling apart immediately. So even when you're in a building, it's still rendering. It's still aware of the building's location in Detroit.
Hmm.
And so, like, you smash open a window and you can go up to the edge of that window and you can see the actual sort of playable map of Detroit. This is enormous for such a small open world game. This isn't a huge game,
Hmm.
but it's still keeping the player in the space in time. So you see stuff like this, you're like, okay, that looks pretty cool. But then I'm gonna go inside. Let me skip this cutscene
I
here.
was gonna say, yeah, cutscenes are always not a good way of benchmarking. Yeah, like here, trying to shoot. Oh
And
wow.
so you can literally see the wireframes in the pillars in the building because the building has the pillars here have destructible coatings. So
Yeah.
as you shoot them, the bullets hitting the sides of these pillars, stuff will flake off and parts of the building will fall apart. But there are times where like you can see through all the walls. The Steam Deck literally cannot populate all of the data
Hmm.
to make the environment cohesive. And then there are times where you just can't see anything that's going on at all because everything just becomes a mess of wireframes. So like the animation of the guy that I just killed there didn't complete. He's just frozen kind of like mid smooth criminal lean. He was just stuck in space defying gravity. So stuff like this, like I can't see anything that's going on. You're obviously getting some of the blocky compression from me
Hmm.
streaming this on Twitch, but this looks pretty close to what I was looking at trying to play it on the Steam Deck. So I struggled with this for about 45 minutes,
Oh
and I
man.
almost gave myself a migraine because it is painful to look at. But let me skip a little further. So, with the help of guys in the chat, because I know Andrew was there, Fat Produce was there, a couple other guys were tuning like Muppinish and some other guys, and we went through everything. Like, okay, I'm on AMD FSR, but let's change this FSR to balanced instead of performance or balanced instead of higher quality. Let's cap the frame rate 30 frames per second. Let's At first you think like, oh, they're just doing analog scan lines for
Hmm.
RoboCop's vision because it's supposed to be sort of like his view and his camera view.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, the game is struggling to, and I've also had to disable VSync. So there's tons of tearing just as you're like
I saw.
panning
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
through
No, no,
this.
right there. Yeah, as you were turning to the left, there's a lot of tearing. Yeah, exactly.
So it gets so much worse when you're in an office building. I can see through the floor. I can see through the walls. The targeting is not lining up at all. And then when your health gets below 20%, it starts doing vignetting to let you know that RoboCop is taking damage. But if you look out those windows, that is there wasn't like a loading to get you into the building that is now
Hmm.
separate from the rest of Detroit. So there's still like all of Detroit is outside that window in a way that's
You still.
sort of
Oh wow.
accessible to the player.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah. No, no.
insane how, because it feels like a movie. It feels like
Hmm.
a RoboCop sequel movie,
No,
but it's
it's supposed to.
also
Yeah, yeah.
a big video game that you will go and explore, and you'll have little side quests and little extra missions and stuff like that. It really is an incredible labor of love,
Oh, that's
to kind of capture.
system failure. Yeah. I see
Yeah.
you.
Oh, I died a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I'm taking damage from people I cannot see. They're blending into the environment. They're falling through walls and floors. Like, it's so bad on the Steam Deck. It's real bad.
How did it
But
run on your Threadripper? Or did you install it on
so
the?
2080 Ti,
Mhm.
and I did 2080 Ti on my 1440p ultra wide,
Mhm.
and it really had no issues keeping
Nice.
up 60 frame per second. I capped it at 60. I really wasn't trying to like tax my system, and I
Mhm.
felt like that's better than it's playing on current consoles, especially connected to a 1440p ultra wide.
Mhm.
Like, it's running really well. My GPU fan was kicking
Kicking up.
on
Well, I would imagine.
like a
Yeah.
jet engine. But yeah, it did fine, and especially because I only have access to like the very first generation of DLSS, so it's not even like I get the fancy upres capabilities. It it's got some kludgy bits that definitely need a patch,
Mhm.
but it feels like a part of the RoboCop series
So
legit.
essentially, it hit the spot for that nostalgia bit. And from what I understand from the little bit of footage that I saw, not just yours, but I think one of the other guys that was playing it on YouTube, they stated that essentially it feels more around RoboCop 2 before, and it does not acknowledge RoboCop 3,
Yeah,
the movie itself. So it
correct.
basically kind of follows 2
Yeah.
as the first and the sequel. So the conversation, because I think the partner is, I think the same partner from the second movie,
Yep,
right?
it's Lewis. Yeah.
Hmm. So
So yeah, it absolutely is the sort of spiritual
you could see the whole
successor.
box. That is actually.
You see through it, like, and
Oh, you
again,
see through
all
the
of this,
walls right there.
it
Yeah.
looks like RoboCop's helmet is glitching. It almost kind of adds to the gameplay, but it makes the game completely unplayable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, the
The mechanics are not
storyline
bad though. Yeah,
is,
I like the concept for it. I mean,
oh
it's not
yeah,
Call of Duty. You're not like mad
no,
dashing, flying and straight into the ground and shooting up. But
no.
it feels to what RoboCop was from when you remember the game. And if you ever were going to be RoboCop in that first person view kind of experience, it's a
Yeah.
great FPS. Definitely very nice first person shooter.
The mechanics are pretty solid.
Hmm.
It almost feels like a first person shooter sequence on rails.
Okay.
Because RoboCop, even when you use like sort of the run mode, RoboCop's run speed is similar to most other first person shooters, or especially competitive shooters, your
Hmm.
walking speed.
Oh,
So
okay.
he's not fast.
No.
And so because of the way that he kind of stomps and floats from room to room, there's no duck, there's no cover mechanic. You walk in and tank damage. That's RoboCop, and that's a part of this game. Um, it almost feels like an on the rails arcade shooter.
Yep.
You know, like that Jurassic Park game where you're supposed to be in the Jeep, but
Hmm.
you're shooting guns at dinosaurs and stuff, and the game just drives you around and you aim and shoot the dinosaurs on the screen.
Yep.
It kind of feels a little like that, only you are sort of driving this slow moving tank, and then you're also aiming like the tank's turret. It almost feels like a tank defense kind of, or a tank zone, battle tank or something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
I noticed in the first run that you were going with it, so you do run out of ammo. It's not this unlimited the way we see
well,
RoboCop in the
the RoboCop gun is unlimited, but you reload. So you can
yeah.
see in the bottom right hand corner, it's unlimited ammo, and the clip is 50 rounds, which is hilarious for a fully automatic, or I guess it's a burst automatic pistol.
Mhm.
He's got 50 rounds in that
Well,
clip.
in
It
the
kind of
movie
defies the
his
laws of
pistol was like
physics.
wasn't it like It was, I think the barrel on that one was a much longer. The way I don't know, maybe my memory's not serving me right with the. I haven't watched RoboCop for some time, but the
Yeah.
experience, I think overall, from what it looks like if you just want to be able to jump back into that nostalgia feel, but get more of that
Hmm.
2023 updated, experience minus the Steam Deck, it should be able to hit the spot, and I think
Yeah.
it's a good game to
Well,
jump
and
into.
and I don't think it would take much to play this well.
Hmm.
So especially for PC gamers, I think we might actually be ahead of some of the consoles. Like if this is getting fired up on a top of the line Xbox or a top of the line PlayStation,
Hmm.
you're in for a really solid 1080p 60 easy
Hmm.
kind of experience. But for us PC gamers, like I'm on a 2080 Ti. That card's no slouch, but it
No,
wasn't
no,
one of the best GPUs ever made. And I bet you even kicking this down to like a 1080, you would easily be able to come up with great playable frame rates with some of the eye candy on. Like it really wouldn't be difficult. Really, as far as I'm concerned, there needs to be some polish, some patching. It would be great if they could find a way to make a potato mode
no.
for the Steam Deck to kind of help rein in some of that and make it at least somewhat playable.
Well, I mean,
But
they let you install it, so obviously it's not maybe 100% optimized, but it is maybe compatible. So the direction is maybe that they just, like you said, a few, maybe it needs a few updates to get it to run
I hope
smoothly.
so. Well, I
Because
hope they'll
God of War
consider it.
didn't run very smoothly initially, and I think it got better as
No.
time went on. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and
it's. Mhm.
especially once we're kicking it down to 720, you would hope that we could maybe find some clever little tricks or efficiencies to get us there. But if you could get it to Steam Deck playable, this would be cake on like an Asus,
Dude, yeah,
an Ally,
an
or the new
Ally or something
Lenovo.
like exactly, exactly, and
Yeah,
especially like the Lenovo Legion. It's, I think,
exactly.
because it's not an online game experience, you can enjoy this. This is what I love about why I'm thinking that it should be on something like a Steam Deck, a portable
Hmm.
system, because it is an offline type of game. You could play this, enjoy it, and not have to
Yeah.
worry about being connected to the internet on a, let's say, a 10-hour flight or whatever, 8-hour flight, 5-hour flight to the East Coast
God,
or
it'd be
something.
so good.
Those are the solutions we always, we beg to have. And you marry that with, let's say, maybe a pair of Roku glasses or X Reels or something like that on the flight. Like,
Hmm.
man, come on, how kick-ass would that be to just kind of like geek out on a RoboCop game in the middle of flight where everybody's like, what is this guy having fun with? You know what I mean? Like, it's that type of experience. It's exciting. I'm excited for it. I'm happy that it exists. Probably will pick it up for this weekend once I'm able to get through tomorrow with some of the video
Yeah.
that I need to shoot, and get some of my content scheduled for next week. Because I yeah, the time that I took a little bit off piled up some work. So I am behind
Hmm.
the backlog, but I am happy to be able to chip at it one piece at a time. I'll say that without
So
any system failures.
I'm only like, so I made it through the first hostage situation, and it kicks off an entire storyline of
Hmm.
RoboCop and Murphy is trying to struggle with his humanity, and like, first of all, treat yourself to the double feature of RoboCop 1 and 2.
Absolutely.
Please ignore that terrible like PG-13 version of RoboCop that is RoboCop 3 ever existed. And then the RoboCop TV show just got even weirder because RoboCop's story is one where we're supposed to be satirizing hyper violence in movies, but then it kind of leans into hyper violence in movies as entertainment.
Hmm.
So it's a weird meta loop
Yeah,
where
yeah.
there are movies that I think we can look to. RoboCop is one of those movies where the point of the movie was to satirize violence and entertainment, but then they ended up making an entertainingly violent movie. Um, and RoboCop 2 is even though it's a different director, it's cut from a very similar cloth in sort of continuing that same story. This feels like it headlong takes us directly into that next stage of Murphy's story. So you might be able to skip RoboCop 2, but you at least need to watch RoboCop 1 to kind of get a sense of what the man versus machine story is supposed to be.
The challenge that Murphy's having with himself.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I mean, like one of the first. I'm not spoiling anything here, but one of the first like in that first mission that you go to rescue these hostages, and it's sort of the training mission just to get you sort of used to the game mechanics. There's a moment where RoboCop gets rattled and he starts hallucinating a
Oh,
conversation he had with his wife.
the
And
flashbacks.
you're
Yep.
like, yeah, the flashbacks. And again, it's cut so well. It's like pulled directly out of the first RoboCop movie. And again, without little that kind of context, those little moments, I don't think land quite as well.
If you don't know what
But
the yeah.
the story is why you play this game, because I already kind of feel like the clearing of bad guys got kind of rote in that first um, intro mission.
Hmm.
You walk into building, tank damage, kill bad guys. Occasionally, you have to stop in a closet and repair yourself, rinse, repeat. That play loop, I think if you're used to a more dynamic, like for example, at the same time, a lot of people in our circle of family and friends are playing Spider-Man 2,
But you, yeah,
right, on the PlayStation 5.
yep.
That is a much more dynamic exploration of a city kind of game. You're introducing characters that are beloved to the franchise. You're playing with Venom. You're doing exactly right. You're holding it up right there. So,
One of the reasons
RoboCop's
why I did not catch on with the RoboCop
yeah.
conversation.
No, that's also another reason why I really
Uh,
haven't tried to do like
I
game
was
reviews is
I
because
was
there's just
slinging.
too many of
Well,
them.
but and as you said it yourself, I think you kind of hit the nail right there, right on the top of the head. Right, it's very much a um, it's our way of unwinding. It's our way of relaxing.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows I like Call of Duty, but I don't post videos of me playing
Hmm.
Call of Duty because it's not that's not what I do. I want to get in, get a few matches in, get my things done, shut it down, and move
Exactly.
on. And it serves its purpose for what it does. And these type of games definitely hit that feeling. Spider-Man open world, absolutely much bigger open world, and the fact that we have
Yeah.
both Miles and Peter playing the game, just doing going through the sheer mechanics in there and the improvements that we've seen, it is absolutely fun. It's nice. And yeah, I definitely, like I said, RoboCop for me it'll be one of my next games, especially as I think in the next few, in the next couple of months or so, we have a few trips going on. I definitely
Yeah.
want to have something. I'm hoping by then we'll have optimized version on the
I hope
Steam Deck.
so. I
Yeah,
I don't know because again we're talking about new game engines,
yeah.
and this is one of the areas where our portables probably didn't take that into consideration. I realized I was just on the system failure screen, so I'll harass you with some of the terrible visuals that I was looking at. We'll just get that
I was
playing again.
we have people jumping
Um,
in. There's like, hey, what's up with the system failure? Like, yep, nope, we weren't booting.
this yeah, I know, right? Our podcast, total system failure. But I don't believe I'm gonna put this out here as like my early prediction.
Sure.
There, this is a game where I don't know if it were maybe like 5 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, it might have been in contention for a Game of the Year nomination, and
Oh,
I
okay.
wouldn't have been upset if it didn't win. This year, there like it feels like almost every major release is a contender for Game of the Year. Spider-Man 2, absolutely
No thing.
a,
Yeah.
a prime contender for a Game of the Year type game. I feel like RoboCop will probably fall lower on most people's lists because the first person shooteriness of it isn't going to feel as dynamic or as fresh as some of these other examples of the genre that we've seen over recent years.
Hmm.
But this is such good nostalgia bait for guys our age and for
Yep.
action movie aficionados, people who love this type of storyline. And the story unfolds in that way that I think a lot of people will appreciate. So that's kind of my early prediction. We probably won't be seeing RoboCop win a bunch of awards, but the character models are all on point. Lewis looks like Lewis. Peter Weller is the
Hmm.
voice of RoboCop,
Hmm.
so he's back. I mean, RoboCop sounds like RoboCop. The character model for the head of OCP and the police chief
Oh
in the
wow.
Detroit police station, they're modeled after the actors who portrayed those characters in the movie. There's just so much of that attention to detail. You're gonna have a good time with this, even if the game itself isn't the most exciting new entry into first-person shooters.
No, I think that's the biggest thing about it. Like I said, this is a more of a nostalgia hit, and you're pretty much going to go into it with that being part of the conversation. I don't think you would
Yeah.
stumble on RoboCop thinking, okay,
I don't
uh,
know anything about this. Let's try to play it.
like should I pick this up? Should I play it, or should I just go pick up Call of Duty or pick up Fortnite or whatever? I think the experience itself, it's like kind of like saying an Xperia. You don't stumble on an Xperia. You
No.
seek an Xperia.
You seek this out with a little purpose.
Yeah.
I hope that this game maybe like what is this weird retro futuristic 1980s world with machine guns all over the place and cyborg guys. I guess I gotta watch this movie. I hope that this game actually brings some younger people to checking out how
Yeah.
crazy and madcap and zany that movie is. But I'm telling you, I haven't made it that far yet. I know I'm going to giggle and titter like a little school child when I finally get to fight an Ed 209. I'm gonna be like doing little giddy dance as soon as I see that. It's one of my all-time favorite movie robot designs is Ed 209.
You gotta.
I even used to have like the concept design shirt or with the logo of the company, like Ed 209's like official like. So anyway,
Dude, okay.
that's I'm gonna be very much looking forward to what some of the other like little Easter egg and movie references are gonna be.
We're gonna make sure to check back with this one next week on on a follow up episode of the
I'll
Best
let
of
you know
Both.
how much further I've made it
If
through
not,
Detroit.
I'll definitely be listening in on Monday on the SGGQA. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, make sure to check out the SGGQA on Monday over on. Actually, it's on this channel as well as Twitch.
Yeah.
I'm so used to saying over on Juan's, but it is essentially the same. The home of the SGGQA is the same home as our channel here, and I just realized my camera is tilting backward as I'm not shrinking the
Oh
camera. I've done a little bit of remodeling in my office where I took out my tripod and I'm now setting up my
no.
camera on an articulating arm. But I feel like I may need to put some support on it because the way that the camera is tilting it. So as the night goes on, if you start looking up my nose, it's not because of me. It's just, you know.
Well, let's start bringing this in for a landing
Oh
before
no,
your
no,
camera
absolutely.
just totally flops over. 'Cause
Yeah, look,
I
the
had that
camera be
happen
like,
to me
"What?"
on this one here once too, and I think it messed up one of my lens filters. What do you have coming up? Are you
Okay.
putting anything out tomorrow or over the weekend?
So tomorrow I have a video that I've been working on, and I've had gone back and forth a couple of times. It's something that I'm actually kind of excited for. I'm hoping it people pick up on it as well. It's a smart vacuum. I know it may not sound as the most exciting thing, but
Nice.
it's one of those things that you really don't realize you kind of need till you get it, and then when you try it, you're like, "Crap, this thing does actually the job I wanted it to do." So this is an Ecovacs Dbot T20 Omni one that I got, and it was a nice surprise. Definitely a lot of good features, a lot of cool features built into it over some of the other ones I've seen before. So that's the video for tomorrow morning. And then I think that's probably kind of round up my week. I'm gonna
Hmm.
try to get my video for the poly done. And then
Yeah.
I gotta get that approved. And before I can post that, hopefully maybe Sunday or Monday on that one. Probably Monday. And then start rounding up my Pixel video. I start kind of finishing that
Hmm.
conversation and start working also on some cool Anchor cameras, or sorry, not Anchor, but like Eufy cameras that I got that have
Very nice.
some like dual camera with 4K. I'm like,
Ooh,
what?
that looks fancy.
That looked like my
You
little
fancy
like
boy.
my little bot right there. I was like, hey, whoop, whoop.
Ava.
Very, very nice. Very cool cameras, dual cameras. It look kind of like dual eyes, but essentially it's two cameras. So got to start working on those hopefully for next week. And just rounding up some new features, and we'll see what we get with, as you said, the Pixel update on Tuesday. I think that's pretty much how
Yeah.
it's going to be on
Good
my
times.
side. How's it going on your side?
I'm hoping it'll be out tomorrow, but it might end up going early access on Patreon. I gotta reach. We talked about it a little last week,
Oh
but I'm
yeah. I got
finally
to see
wrapping
that.
up the little
Whizbox.
Whizbox G from Ace PC. I am very happy with this price to performance. It is real nice,
Mm-hmm.
and some of the architectural improvements that we've seen from inexpensive mini PCs around this price last year to
Yep.
this year. there's been an explosion of competition with Intel 13th gen finally coming out, and now this is Ryzen 7
Mhm.
7735HS.
Oh yeah.
And it was 2 years ago that I did a Geekom video where I was like, okay, well, if you're mostly doing 720p gaming and older AAA titles and some arcadey games, these little mini PCs can kind of do some of that. And now with a Radeon 680M,
Mhm.
it's so much better. And when you do things like edit video in DaVinci Resolve, it's so much better.
Oh
And when you
nice.
compare the price to performance against something like a used Mac Mini with an M2 processor in it, it is
So much nicer.
ridiculously competitive. I mean, it is really impressive. So I have the video shot. I'm not sure if I'll have all of the editing and stuff because I got to shoot some B-roll and get a few more game clips and some gameplay
Yeah.
for there too. But I'm hoping I can have that out either publicly or at least on the Patreon tomorrow. And then I'm also putting together, this is going to be a real little.
Mhm.
Someone asked me about like my travel setup when I'm really just working off of a phone. So I'm going to put together just a little primer on Bluetooth keyboard, Bluetooth mouse, smartphone with a desktop mode, probably a Motorola, and some of these new XR glasses just to say, I go through airline security now and I don't have to take anything out of my bag,
Yeah.
right? But I still have a fully functional work platform that I can do stuff with. So that'll also be a follow-up that's I'll probably shoot over the weekend and hopefully have out next week.
Sounds like a good deal. Good plan. Sorry about that one. Yeah, no. I think overall, I'm hoping, obviously Techtober is kind of like starting to wind down. There's a lot more build up in conversations now going to be starting to be talked about, Thanksgiving, Black Friday deals and stuff like that coming up. So hopefully we'll be able to participate in some of those conversations. I know some companies are starting to reach out me, trying to share some deals and so on. So we'll see how those things
Yeah.
come up. With that being said, there are some exciting stuff coming up as well. I know Techtober is over, but there's some good exciting, I would say, announcements coming up next week, a few weeks later on as
Mm-hmm.
well. We're going to hear a lot of good things coming up. It's not over. It may have slowed down ever so slightly. The Xiaomi 14 just got announced, and I think our buddy Ben got a chance
Yeah.
to play with it in China. He picked up his own from Hong Kong,
Everything I can
and
do to not like dump a ton of money on importing gear. Yeah.
it is one of those tough conversations. And the only comment I will probably say at this point, I'm noticing more of a trend that we're moving away from the 989, the IMX 989, the 1-inch sensor, and seeing more companies that used to use it now shifting into trying to provide other solutions. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
why. I want to see more 989s. There is something about that sensor that just does or hits different. So the goal is,
Mm-hmm.
Ben's been proving it with the 14, with Xiaomi. There's more conversations coming around. Obviously, MediaTek was teasing up, saying some new changes are coming up. I think they tweeted about it a
Oh,
couple of
that's
days
right.
ago.
We've got I mean, we just did Qualcomm, and we're gonna have MediaTek coming up this
Yeah,
month.
yeah. There's going to be a lot more
Oh,
conversations
there's
going.
still a bunch of announcements and stuff that we gotta hit.
That's how it goes, man. That's right. When you think it's slowing down, you
They
gotta look twice.
pull you back in, and you think you're out, but
And
then
you
you've been dragged back.
But I think it's going to be exciting. I think that's the big thing about it. We're going to learn about cool things. We're going to see some new announcements. Xiaomi went out first. I'm waiting for Vivo to start talking about their device, their offering, and I want to hear obviously Oppo
Yeah,
start talking about theirs. Everybody's teasing us, but we want to see announcements. So I will say, with that being said, obviously make sure to check out Juan on Monday with the SGGQA. Come back to us again next week on Thursday for the best of our week. We'll be able to recap all of that and bring more conversations. And who knows, maybe Juan and I will do a session of playing RoboCop together. We'll have to see
that'd be cool.
how things kind of go. But I want to say thanks to everybody for hanging out with us on this beautiful Thursday, the first Thursday of November. Can't believe it's November 2023. We'll be back, and we're with more and more cool and fun things to talk about. Hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you next week.